Okay, good morning, everyone. Hopefully you had a great weekend and we are starting our knowledge building session today. I am Jacinta McCants and I will be your tour guide, if you will, for the beginning of the session. But welcome while we give everyone a couple of minutes to get in. This is the knowledge building for leaders, and the focus today is early literacy. And the course is early literacy, print awareness, phonological awareness, and alphabet knowledge. So welcome everyone, and we will get started in a couple of seconds. Okay, the campus way, or the Cox Campus way, we have some core values that we want to just remind you of with our resources and really what hits the core of our beliefs. So the first one, rewarding. We want this to be a rewarding experience for all. So making sure that everybody is feeling like they were taking something away and this be a rewarding time spent together is definitely one of our goals. Empowering. We want to empower all to secure a better place and future for our students with regards to literacy. So we want our children to really become empowered as well as all those around them. Connecting. We are committed to connecting with other change agents. As you can hear in the chat, we have educators, we have some from the hospital and the medical side, so that's wonderful. And safe. We want all to feel safe, welcome, and accepted. And essential. We are rooted in solid research to help change practices and make a difference in the lives of children. So those are our core values, and we truly hope that we hit all of those in all of our sessions. All right, next slide. If you are new to Cox Campus, please consider creating a membership today. You see the website there. The pre-work for this is required. So today we will fully participate in this session. We hope you will have some great conversations. It is from the course Early Literacy, Print Awareness, Phonological Awareness, and Alphabetic Knowledge course. So we want you to have already taken that course, obviously to be able to have the conversations today. If you have not completed that course, we suggest, consider joining our next session and making sure that you have the pre-work completed before the session. So the next session will be November 27th, and that session's focus will be systematic and explicit phonics. So keep in mind that the next session, if you have not done the pre-work for this session, you can always join the next session and be able to have some deep conversations since you have taken the course already. All right, so let me introduce our facilitators. Next slide. I see a roll call poll just popped up. I'm sorry. Please make sure you've done that poll if you have not. I'm sorry, I just saw that myself. So we are your facilitators, and I'll introduce everyone. We will be in charge of building your knowledge through foundational literacy through our online free Cox Campus structured literacy courses to set the foundation for transformative change in your school and in your district. We will engage in these reflective discussions with our peer leaders that will be facilitated by the Rollins and the Godot partners. So our facilitators today is Amy Denty, and she is the Director of Literacy at Georgia Department of Education. We have Ramona Brown. She is the Field Implementation Coordinator at Rollins Center. She's waving at us. And myself, I am Dr. Jacinta McCants, and I'm the Implementation Coach at the Rollins Center. So we are happy to facilitate the conversations, and we look forward to meeting and having some deep conversations with you today. We have some moderators as well. So the next slide has our moderators. Andina Oglesby from Georgia Department of Education. She is an ELA program specialist. Jamie Thomas, she is from Georgia College and State University. And Dr. Charity Roberts, and she is Georgia Department of Education as well. the REI instructional specialist. So you will see them in the breakout rooms, as well as the Rollins team in the breakout rooms as your moderators. So again, welcome to everyone. All right, so next, let's do a quick little icebreaker. What do you hope to gain from this session today? So think about that, and in the chat, we'll try to read quickly as we can. What do you hope to gain from the session today? All right, let me try to get my chat going here. Hoping to learn how leaders, it's just jumping on me, how leaders across Georgia are feeling about this content and their plans for ensuring that K-3 teachers are engaged in this important professional development. Oh, wonderful. Excellent. Thank you, Amy. Appreciate that. Darlene is retired, but still interested in reading. Love it. Love it. Okay. Miss Sales, assistant principal. Oh, okay. She's checking in. Thank you. Ways to support our teachers as we begin training on structured literacy. Okay. Love that. So at the beginning of a journey for that participant, solidify my understanding of the components of early literacy. Wonderful. That was Aviva. Hope I'm saying that right. All right, Katie and Lumpkin, we would love to have some ideas on how to roll this out to our teachers. Okay, wonderful. So we will definitely hit those in our breakout rooms. All right, great. Thank you for sharing. Appreciate it. And those that are still typing, continue to type in the chat, and we will all read those. Appreciate it. All right. So next we have our session objectives, and I will turn this over to Amy.
Good morning, everybody. It's great to see such a big crowd on our knowledge building for leaders. And I loved as the chat was filling up on that last question, and it jumps around, of course, as people add, but I kept seeing the word support and learn, the words support and learn. And I have the feeling that we're all here today to learn together. The other commonality I saw in the chat box was that people are hoping to learn from each other and engage as a network to see how other districts are planning for robust and engaging professional learning for their teachers. And we're also here today so that we can get prepared for this change. You know, it's been said on an earlier knowledge building for leaders that you can't lead what you don't know. And so this is a space for district and school leaders to have an opportunity to engage with this content that your teachers will be engaging with, and also to learn from each other and to get ideas on how it can look in districts. And it doesn't all have to look the same. We have a nice, strong framework with these modules. And you're going to need to prepare for the change by figuring out what's going to work for your district while being true to the tenets of the nice framework that the Cox Campus modules have given us. So I'm excited about learning together today, engaging as a network as we prepare for this change. Let's go to the next slide and look at the session objectives a little more closely. So hopefully everybody did their homework. I did see in one of the chats that somebody had a problem with one of the videos, and so we'll try to follow up with you a little bit later on that. But really today we're going to be reflecting on what we learned in this month's course, which was, of course, early literacy, which involves print awareness, phonemic awareness, and alphabetic awareness. And we're going to lean into what this looks like when implemented in a school. Towards the end of our time together, we'll go through coaching and walkthrough document that will help you gauge where your school is related to this work. We're going to link what we've learned to some real life scenarios and talk through it. And hopefully this will help to prepare you to lead this work in your school or district by collecting baseline data with that document, that tool that we provide for you. I want to really encourage y'all to be ready to jump in and collaborate. This is not about y'all listening to us. This is about y'all having an opportunity to talk with each other. We're going to be going into breakout rooms, so it'll be a little bit of a smaller crowd for you, and hopefully you'll have lots of great opportunities to learn from one another. So again, welcome, and I think we should get started.
All right, next slide, please. Great. So as Amy mentioned, we're going to be breaking into smaller breakout rooms. So our very first breakout room will provide an opportunity for you to reflect on what you learned in the course, and learn from and with each other. So in just a moment, the breakout rooms will launch. And we will have 6 minutes in each breakout room, and then we will come back to the main room for a debrief for you to share one or two things that was important from your discussion in the breakout room. Alrighty, we are ready to launch the breakout rooms. Laura, do share while we're getting back to the PowerPoint, what were some highlights from your group's session?
Absolutely. So we were hearing a lot about how Cox Campus really feels like an approachable springboard. So whether folks were new to their leadership roles, or whether folks were having to onboard, having the opportunity to onboard new teachers to a district that has done letters for several years, kind of what's the forward look? How do we keep our district on this path? They found Cox Campus really approachable for folks who are new. And then we were just hearing from the superintendent from, I think is it Coffee? Am I saying that right? Or Coffee County? I'd love for you to finish what you were saying. I know our Jamboard, our Zoom meeting ended. So if you're willing, I'd love you to come off mute and just say what you were going to say.
I was just saying that we're looking in our county at for the 8 elementary schools at possibly doing the letters training, and but our director of early literacy, birth or K-5 literacy, she's encouraged this after learning about it at the GASES conference and such, and so I just thought I would participate to learn more about what you're doing with this initiative. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us today.
Dr. Leese, I'm not at all surprised to see you joining here as a superintendent, and we appreciate you being here and appreciate all of the leaders who are here, but it's great to hear your voice and see your engagement here.
Thank you, Miss Denny. You're a rock star. For sure.
I don't know about that.
So I'm going to call on another one of my colleagues, Sally, and I believe you were in room 14. If you would lift up a couple of points from your conversation.
Sure. We talked about how this aligns with what people have had in other trainings, like sort of to speak to our Coffee County superintendent, when what he said, we've had people from letters and reading first, and how so much of what was in this course really validated. They're learning from that and bringing that back. And then we had a really rich discussion about English and Spanish phonemes. I think when they realized that I was the facilitator of the oral language course, they had some questions. And so I just want to lift, and I'll drop this in the chat in a second, but we do have Spanish phoneme resources on Cox Campus that are not linked in the early literacy course. So if anybody has Spanish speakers, we have those resources available. So I'll drop those in the chat.
Thank you, Sally. I just wanted to add that in our room, I was able to lift some of the new research out there about the importance of exposing children not just to the oral part of developing phonemic awareness, but attaching letters to sound early and often, and sort of doing away with the developing phonemic awareness in the dark, but instead making those connections so that as we layer on the phonics piece, they have a deeper knowledge or something to hold on to as they build those skills for decoding and encoding. And that some of that research is found in the Making Sense of Phonics book by Isabel Beck, and I'm sure Sally has one or two other sources that we can certainly drop in the chat.
I'll drop the link to an IDA article we found very helpful. I'll do that too.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. I see lots of comments coming in about great conversation. So let's just keep this party going. And Toki, if we will go to the very next slide. All right, so now we want to lean into implementation. This is where the rubber meets the road and where we're able to answer the question about how do we take these theories and practices and operationalize them. And so for that portion, we want to think about what things that we may not be doing yet that we want to start. What things have we been doing that the course lends itself for us to stop? What things do we want to continue that are firmly in our system? And then what things do we want to change? So we will be going into breakout rooms again. Hopefully this transition will be a little smoother. If you were in the room with me, you will be coming back to room 7. If you were in the room with Sally, room 14. So hopefully you remember the moderator that was in your room and just make that selection as the option comes up on the screen. Okay, so I hope that you all got some great ideas in the room where we were leaning into implementation. Is there anyone in rooms that we have not yet heard from that would like to share? If we could get 2 to 3 rooms to share before we go to our next collaborative session.
Sure, I'll come off of mute. Room 1, we had some great conversations of the start and the stop, continue and change. So for start, having more professional development for our teachers. So Orton Gillingham training, letters training, and of course our Cox campus resources. So there is a focus on training for structural literacy and science of reading now that wasn't there before. So that was a start. Stop is guided reading. I think that was one of the big ones. And really changing that guided reading to look like more of a small group focus that they learned during the course of the early literacy course, and what the focus should look like and what small groups should look like and the instruction should look like. And then continuing print awareness was a continue, and of course continuing small group. And the biggest change was ELA block and extending the ELA block to accommodate time for all the new changes. So that was our start, stop, continue, change in room 1.
And I'll speak up for room 13 because my link, it wouldn't let me in to the link that we needed to record on. So I'll just share verbally my handwritten notes. So we talked about how teachers are sometimes hesitant to engage, but the good thing about the modules on Cox campus, they're bite-sized pieces that give you a springboard to introduce or maybe just to remind teachers of where they should be and how this fits. And then the things we talked about stopping were using the 3 queuing systems. And moving from the F&P leveled books and bringing in more decodables for students. And then we also heard about older teachers of older children maybe needing to know some of these foundational skills because kids have missed that. And then we talked about continuing phonics program maybe up through third grade for those kids who missed it, when there wasn't such a focus on the research and the science of reading.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that. Is there another room that would like to share before we prepare to go to the next breakout room?
Ramona, I'll take a moment to share for room 5.
Thank you.
Sure. One of the things that came up is just kind of what others have been saying as far as just a reminder of certain things. And so one of our participants brought up the gradual release, right? And so that's something that is not necessarily new to a lot of people, but it is a great reminder of being intentional about helping teachers to be able to allow students to have that productive struggle, because it can be hard for teachers to do that. And so one of our participants talked about how they're really being intentional on focusing on the gradual release and what that looks like, and to be able to help teachers to do that intentionally in a way that that meets the needs of giving students more equity of voice. So I thought that was great.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. That's been my experience in the various spaces I've been able to serve in, is that gradual release of responsibility is an oldie but goodie, that sometimes as things come on our plate, we sort of lose those things that we know are evidence-based practices. And so returning a focus is a great way to support teachers and understanding that they have some of what it already takes in order to take this journey into the science of reading. So thank you for that. If we could go to the very next slide, and I will give directions for the breakout room before we launch there. So this next breakout room, we've talked so far about reflecting on the learning in the course. We talked a little bit about what will that take as we think about implementation, specifically thinking about the systems and structures that support effective practices. Now we're going to link our learning to real life scenarios. So this scenario will be on each one of your Jamboards, and we will also accompany the walkthrough tool for you to think about this particular real life scenario. So I'm going to read it as Toki is setting up the breakout rooms. We will spend 8 minutes in the next breakout room to allow you an opportunity to reflect on the prompt, as well as prepare your responses. So in a district meeting, your school-based leaders evaluated their phonics curriculums. After reviewing, they noticed there aren't any phonemic awareness activities included. At the current time, funds are limited to purchase more resources. What are your next steps? So once again, you'll go back to your very same breakout room to consider this. We'll also have the walkthrough tool available for you there to help facilitate your discussion. All right, take us away. All right, welcome back. Welcome back. I still see the numbers are ticking up. While we prepare for everyone to enter the room, if we could, I'm sorry, there's extra noise in my background. I'm not in a private space. But as we prepare to come back in, those of you who are in the room, if you could be thinking about the conversation and any takeaways you'd like to share.
We discussed in room 2 that, if you're looking at a scenario and you're seeing that your funds are limited, but you need phonemic awareness, that one of the first steps really is deciding what kind of professional learning you can do. Your teachers need to understand those key components, and then what types of activities, strategies can we immediately implement, no matter what curriculum you have, to start promoting that. So that's kind of what our focus in room 2 was around.
Jessica, along those same lines, in room 15, after we talked about the knowledge and building that awareness, talked about that 44 phonemes video and just how once you hear it done incorrectly, you can't unhear it. So just exposing teachers to the correct pronunciations of sounds really can go a long way too, just to make sure that across everything that we're already doing, that we're performing the sounds correctly.
That's a great point.
Thank you, Corey and Jessica. McKinney, would you like to share your part of your discussion in room 17? I know you all got cut off, but if you could share.
Yes, I would love it if some of my team members from that room would share, because they were the ones with the great ideas. Who wants to come off and share in room 17 with me?
I'm happy to kind
Okay,
of share
all right.
a little bit. I'm an instructional coach, and so we talked first about providing professional learning where the teachers are the students. So the coach or whoever's delivering the professional learning, the teachers need to learn it as a student before they can use it with a student so that it's most impactful, and not just a one and done PD, but having it continuous. So we learn it, we try it, we come back, we do it again, we maybe learn, ask some more questions, do it again. And we talked about it's actually a PD timeline. So it's not like you learn it once and then you have to be able to do it for evaluative purposes immediately. So there's a timeline there where admin knows that this is still the learning phase for the teachers. So we're not going to go in and do an observation during these 4-6 weeks, whatever it might be. They're actually still learning. So the coach might come in and model, or I encourage admin to come in to also learn it as the student, so that then they can provide real-time, accurate, and helpful feedback for those teachers. Kind of and video coaching. We use video coaching, which takes a lot of trust, but I've been able to build that in my short time here at in this building and in the state. And so our new teachers who had their student teaching during COVID times and didn't get that real in-classroom experience are missing a lot of the pieces and parts. So it's been hugely beneficial for my teachers who went through their student teaching during that time to build their toolbox and become more comfortable with taking those chances in a safe space.
Thank you so much for sharing, Kara. You brought up some really great points. Especially, I want to hone in on teachers as learners first, giving that opportunity, giving them the knowledge with the space and opportunity for practice is essential if we want that knowledge to transfer into practice. And then the leaders being aware of the practice in an intimate way so that they can support that transfer. Those are two really key elements of the Rollins way, because we don't want PD as normal. We definitely want that bridge to practice to be built. So thank you for that. All right, if we can go to the next slide. All right, so now that we have reflected on what was learned from the course, leaned into implementation, and discussed a little bit about a real life scenario, now we want to lead by giving you a call to action. And I'm sorry, I'm competing again. On the screen is the coaching tool for early literacy. It helps as teachers are going through the practice of taking the knowledge and practicing it. Just like the brain research tells us that high levels of practice are needed in order to develop those neural pathways for reading. It's the same thing with any habit, basically, is to repeat those things that we know are successful in many ways and as many spaces as possible. So this tool, coaching tool here, is useful for coaches to use as a support alongside teachers, as well as for teachers as a reflective tool on their own practice. Kara mentioned video coaching. That is a very important resource for us to leverage, and this tool can help us leverage that. So the call to action is to use the coaching tool to collect that baseline data, and use the coaching guide to support the implementation of evidence-based practices. And Sally, if you would drop both of those tools in the chat for us so that everyone has access to those two tools.
Ramona, are you referencing the course guide? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, the
okay,
coaching
right.
tool and the course guide.
Okay. Coaching tools in there. I'll drop course guide now.
Thank you. Yeah. The course guide is a good resource for you to go back and help teachers revisit the learning that they got from the course as they prepare to take it into practice. All right, and if we would go ahead to the next slide. Now we want to open the floor up for any questions that you might have as a result of this session.
Ramona, I will voice a question that came out of one of my breakout groups. We talked about the richness of all of the resources that are available, and someone talked about that when they click on them, of course, they go to their dashboard. And so the question was, will those resources always be available in their Cox Campus dashboard?
So I'm going to say yes, but I am also going to defer that question to anyone on our tech team to be sure.
So the answer to that is yes, as long as the resource exists on Cox Campus, you'll always have access to it. There are times when we do update the resources and it might get replaced, but generally the resources are there to stay. But if you have any issue where you are looking for a resource and you can't find it, you can just reach out to us at info@coxcampus.org and we'll be happy to help you find it.
Nice.
Excellent. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Ramona, I'll also add to that too, not just from the tech perspective, but just kind of what was alluded to is that we also know as research changes, we always want to stay up to date. So it's not that a resource may be taken down. It may be a resource taken down because there's new research, or it may be that it might be that a resource is updated. It's the same resource, but it's just updated to make it better based off of feedback and based off of new research. So just know that as well.
And
Excellent
I'll
point.
say,
Thank you.
as an outside person, I've been using Cox Campus to help with professional development with teachers since 2012. And I can still access my same, if I use the same email address, and I can still access the things that I've worked through.
Thank you, Jamie, for sharing that. It reminded me of a conversation we had in our room about the resources and budget. One great free resource that's been out there forever is FCRR, but Cox Campus is also a great and stable free resource. So it's not always about going out and purchasing a product, but taking a look at what do I have and what purpose is it serving, and then what is available out there so that we can use what dollars we have available responsibly. So thank you for that. Someone mentioned, will there be a recording of this session? Yes, it will be. The links are shared within 2 days of the session, so be on the lookout for that. Any other moderators or participants that have questions or thoughts that you'd like to share as a result of our session today?
I just wanted to, oh, sorry.
I have a question. My question is I would like to hear to see what other people are thinking of how they are looking at rolling this out in their school district to their teachers. Anybody have any thoughts on that?
Hey, Candace, it's Carla.
Hey.
Was with you last week. I'm trying to start my video.
Oh, hey.
Candace. Yeah, so I was thinking prior to watching the modules, we've had everybody go through letters training in our district. And I watched the beginning modules yesterday, and I don't want to abandon letters training at all, but I've talked with another colleague about this some. And I do think that I would like to use this with new teachers because letters is so heavy for brand new teachers coming into the profession, or maybe people switching from another career. It's so heavy and so deep that this would be a great springboard to letters, and maybe doing this with our first year teachers, or, Amy, correct me if I'm wrong, but the law says K-3 teachers. And so I'm understanding that to mean your PE teachers, your art teachers, everybody. And I really don't see them putting them through letters, but this is more doable in those bite-sized pieces. So that's how I'm thinking about using it here in Wayne County.
I guess my question is, are people looking at bringing teachers together and doing this together, having them watch the videos and then come back together and facilitate some conversations? What were, like, I guess, the logistic piece with that, because so we can get the most bang for our buck?
I was thinking that that's what I would do too, was have them watch the videos just like we would with letters, and then have them do an in-person session, not an all-day in-person session, but something smaller. But I'd love to hear what other districts are doing.
I was sharing with the group, our breakout group, when I was managing reading interventionists and MTSS in a district. I had my folks do work through the Cox Campus modules, and it'll give you a certificate, or give them a certificate. And then I had them submit the certificate to me before I went to observe them in action, so that I knew that they had some baseline knowledge.
And y'all,
I would like to see. I would really like us to see, and I'm certainly happy to work with folks at Godot or whoever, that we could devise a statewide kind of a rollout plan. I hear exactly what you're saying, Candace, and I feel the same way, because I think watching the videos, while they're great and informative, unless you have that follow up with teacher, the value is going to be limited. That I would hate to see that every district creates their own plan versus we create a rollout plan that's realistic. Because with 26 hours worth of video and then the powerful discussion that needs to come afterwards, I think we could work smarter together versus all of us doing our own thing. And again, I'm happy to be part of that work.
Excellent point. And Sally Edwards put a suggestion in there that would be a resource that would be central for everyone, and that's the course guides as a follow-up to the video. And then I would invite you also to use sort of the structure that we're using here, which is a specific call to action that is then followed up by some observation, a space that we use are action labs, where teachers are actually able to put a specific practice in place and receive support from peer observations. So that is an excellent idea. We're better together. So the more that we can come together around that is an excellent start.
and Matthew, I hear what you're saying, and I've written your name down, and I've written that that suggestion down, because we really do want to provide the kind of support. And you're so right. There's no reason that we should do this 181 times, right? That we can come together and build a strong central framework for helping districts redeliver this and use these tools in their schools. And so thank you for that. And that's going to be top of mind for me right now. And I think that I've heard that not just from you, but from other people. And so we'll certainly look at that and be asking for y'all to help us with that, because y'all are the people that are making it happen.
I think something that's going to be key for this is, we've kind of mentioned it before, is having our admin be very much a part of it in the learning process, but to guide them in facilitating the discussions afterwards. And knowing next steps so that they can take this in their buildings, especially for systems that are large, because we can't be in all of them all the time. And it's very difficult to get that many teachers online or in sync at the same time. But my thought process was that we would roll out a plan for them and give them time within the working day. And that's one of the things I love about Cox is that they do it in smaller increments, so that they can digest their learning and they're not sitting there and just exhausted by the end of the day from all that growth that they've been participating in. So giving them smaller increments of learning throughout, whether it be a month or 3 months, and then time to have that within the working day within their grade level teams to have those strong conversations. But also if we can do a little bit of pre-work with our admin so that they're in there in that process with them would be very valuable.
Something that I was considering is we've got a tier 1 phonics program that we're implementing this year. So that's a heavy piece for our folks right now. But you've got those folks that are those go-getters that want to kind of stay ahead. So identifying 1 or 2 teachers in each of those kindergarten through 3rd grade grade levels and having them start this process earlier and getting their feedback as we go through, so that as we move to a, if you will, a grade level approach, then we would, and again, this is all in my head, so that's a scary place, but we would have the time that they all do the pre-work, but then in our weekly PLCs, we would have a point of focus, and then pulling our admin in for those follow through walkthroughs, just to give kind of, I've heard the term treasure hunting, to identify some of that practice. Because I do think, there's a lot to it, but I love the term you just shared, Ramona. I think it was action labs. That's something I want to dig into to see if that's a piece. But I 100% agree with Matthew's initial comment that it's not just let's throw it out there and have them check off and do it. It's the support of, do you understand? Where does it fit in your instruction? And how do we keep people from being overwhelmed? I know this is true. Too much of a good thing is too much of a good thing, even if it's chocolate, because I've tested that. Thanks for letting me comment.
Karen, I loved what you were talking about empowering those teachers, those early adopters, those people who are out there and are hungry. I think that builds their teacher efficacy, and then it allows them to help build the collective efficacy of their grade level or their team. And I think we're at a time right now where we need to really be focused on how we can build up our teachers. They're doing a lot of hard work and they're under a microscope. And so anything that we can do to build that individual efficacy, but also the collective teacher efficacy of our people. So I loved what you said about that. Thank you for sharing that.
And Sally has dropped a FAQ sheet in about the Action Lab model that we use at Rollins. So that'll give you some background.
And y'all, after this is over tomorrow or sometime, you'll get an email that'll have the recording and things, but it'll also have the links to some of these things that are here, because this chat is rich with a lot of important information. And so we appreciate our friends at the Rollins Center and Cox campus for always doing a great job with those follow-ups. So you'll have access to all of that.
Thank you. Okay, if we can go to the next screen here. All right, so we're going to launch the webinar poll. If you would please share your thoughts on how we did. We definitely have our marching orders both at Rollins as well as Godot. I love the idea of creating a statewide rollout plan in collaboration with those leaders here in the room. And so look forward to seeing you all the next time, where we will be digging into phonics.
And Ramona, I'm dropping the course guide for phonics. It is not
Thank
on
you.
Cox Campus, but it'll be there really soon. But this is a PDF version of the course guide for anybody working through that ahead of next month's session.
Thanks, Sally.
Thank you, Sally. That's awesome.
Did you have any closing words, Amy?
Y'all, we've got 151 people still engaged today, and I know how valuable your time is. It makes me so happy to see district and school leaders coming together to work on this work. And this is going to be a real key to just really moving our state forward. So thank you for participating. We will keep learning together. And I should have looked up the date of our next one, but it will be towards the end of November, I believe. I'll look quickly right now. We will see you all
November
on
27th.
November 27th. And so if you and bring a friend, because we'd love to have the problem of having really, really full rooms. So thank you all for being here today.
Thank you. And Laura has dropped the link to what register for that next session also in the chat. I hope you all have a marvelous Monday and enjoy the rest of your week, and look forward to seeing as many of you as can come and your plus ones the next time.